Howdy, howdy!
Good day, probers.
And
good fucking day.
excellent, starting off strong. Family friendly, folks. Welcome to But It Was Aliens, the paranormal comedy podcast where we probe activity of the paranormal variety to determine, for the questionable benefit of humanity, whether that activity really was paranormal.
To determine. I'm in that kind of mood.
Oh dear. My name is Mr. Kev in the John, and alongside me, with no idea what's going to come out of my top hole today, is Mr. Granville Moonwalker.
Hi.
Hello. Today, we return to America, where I've never been before, to a little place called Washington State, not Washington, D.C.
Ooh.
Indeed.
Is Washington State in Washington?
No.
Or is it somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Okay.
On the southeast shoulder of Mount St Helens in America's Washington State, you can find the Plains of Abraham. There is a gorge on these plains that, at its narrowest, hits about 8 foot in width. This gorge is known in popular culture today, and I'm about to tell you why, dear probers. Let us head back to 1924. These were gold prospecting times, and that's exactly what Fred Beck, Gabe Lefever, Honourable John Peterson, Marion, aka Leroy Smith, and Smith's son Roy were up to as gold prospectors. The group got wind that there may be gold, Granville, gold, in the Cascade Mountain Range.
Gold.
And so the group headed for that southeast shoulder of Mount St Helens. Carved by ancient rivers of ice or glaciers, one gorge was of particular interest. Solid rock walls plunged down 200 foot on either side of the chasm, making an environment where sunlight could barely reach. The place was therefore potentially yet to be investigated by humans. There could be gold.
Gold. Is Washington, D.C. in Washington State?
No.
Where is Washington State?
In America, near Mount St Helens.
Where is that?
In America.
Just wondering, because it could be confusing to someone that's not from America, as why you have Washington, D.C. and Washington State. Like, are they named after people? Like, is it a whole... Because you know how we have... I don't know, if you said London and London City or London Town, you would assume that's in the greater area of London, correct?
Correct.
So I was just wondered if that was the same for America. There is no London City, by the way.
Isn't there, though?
There might be a London City in terms of a kebab
City of
shop.
London. So, Washington, D.C. is a district that serves as the capital of America.
Oh, so it's not its own...
Yeah, Washington...
Like we would have a town, city, etc., village. Washington,
I
DC,
guess so,
isn't
yeah.
that?
Well, Washington State, I can tell you, is in the Pacific Northwest.
Could you have 2 districts in one town? Our districts pretty much what we know as the states.
It's hard to compare because America is so much bigger than the UK. But yeah, Washington is independent of any state. So it's its own
thing.
Yeah.
Like the Vatican, but not so.
I suppose a little bit.
Nah, not really. It's
DC comes under the District of Columbia, I believe.
It's like BTEC Vatican City.
And Hamilton taught me as to how that came to be the capital of America. Which is why I kind of half know that.
I've still not watched it.
for people from America, they're probably in fact, they will be thinking, you frickin' idiots, this shit is obvious. But in the English educational system, certainly the time that me and Mr. Moonwalker went to school in the Stone Ages, they did not teach you about really any country other than England. Barely even the rest of the UK.
A little bit of Germany.
A little bit of Italy.
When you learned about the war.
But when I say a little bit, I'm talking about
France.
ancient and further back in history. So you learn about the Second World War, the ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and tiny bit of ancient Egypt that turns out most of that is probably now wrong.
Yeah. That's about it.
So it's not our fault that we're stupid. We're getting way off topic. Didn't you hear me say gold?
Gold!
Near the canyon rim.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those days. The group built a log cabin to form the base of their activity. By July 1924, the prospectors had been prospecting their prospect for several weeks without incident. One July afternoon, the group had been out surveying the area. Upon their return to camp, Fred Beck and Marion Smith noticed a figure standing near the tree line, which they thought weird as animals don't tend to chill standing upright. As they got closer, they could see that it was an ape-like creature covered in dark hair with 4-inch tall ears. The creature was standing at what must have been about 7 foot tall. This was no ordinary ape. The men yelled out in shock before Smith took his rifle and fired at the creature. It was the only sensible thing to do. The beast was hit not once, not twice, but 3 times before strolling back into the forest. The beast didn't give a damn, evidently. It just casually strolled off. Did I mention the name of this area, by the way? It was called Ape Canyon.
Bulletproof ape. I heard you say ape-like creature covered in dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
But then the moment you mentioned ears, my mind went completely from ape and I was like, it's a fucking werewolf. And then you just went, this was no ordinary ape. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a fucking ape. My brain is all over the place today.
I can't tell you that it wasn't a werewolf.
It's a were.
I mean, it had big ears. Where did your mind just go?
It's a werebear.
A werebear.
Gorillas in the mist.
Yeah, I love how the first response is to shoot.
Always. Not saying it's right, I just mean always in any scenario, whenever you hear something like this, people are so frightened that they immediately turn to violence.
Not even necessarily frightened. It could have been like,
look at that beautiful creature.
It's coming right for it!
Let's kill it. It's so pretty. Now it must die.
And it just strolled off. Did it look their way? Did it engage them?
It looked at them.
Or did it just be like, and just walked off?
It looked at them, yes, and then after they shot it a few times, it just strolled away.
Plotting revenge. It looked at him and was like, I remember you bitches.
What do you think it's going to do for that revenge?
Wait till night.
I'm going to come back.
And then it's just going to rustle some bushes. It's going to make them paranoid. It's going to rustle bushes.
It's going to go for psychological warfare rather than physical.
Start making noises during the night. Throw pigs into their camp. Predator style. And then just stand there in the trees watching. And just walk away.
And then go home.
Yep.
It's going to disturb their sleep for one night. That's perfect revenge for getting shot 3 times.
Oh, I didn't say this was done.
Oh, my mistake.
This was night 1.
So he goes home for the night.
Yep.
He comes back night 2.
Yep.
What does he do? Rustle some more bushes.
Yep. Keeps them on edge just for a week.
Where'd he get him?
Does the same thing 7 days straight. When they think that's all it's going to do, starts getting closer, scratching slightly at the tent. Just one of them.
And then he goes home.
Just goes home.
Showed them.
Then start stealing things in the night. Just little inconveniences. Like the lids of every bottle.
Devious genius. The men had been out surveying all afternoon, so by this point it was getting dark. When everyone returned to camp, the group agreed to abandon camp at daybreak. If there was one of these apes, what if there were more? Around midnight, we'd find the answer to that question. There was a rustling in the bushes. As the miners slept, every single one of them was suddenly awoken by a huge crash against the side of the log cabin.
There's a pig got thrown.
And another.
Many pigs.
And another.
More pigs. More pigs.
It's funny you say that. It sounded like rocks were hammering the cabin. The whole cabin shook with the force of all these impacts.
Big pigs.
Beck peered outside through some particularly wide gaps in the logs and was startled by what he saw. What do you think he saw?
He saw
pigs!
A catapult-like structure with war pigs attached to it.
They've all got war paint.
Yep.
This ape is playing Angry Birds.
That's exactly what he's doing.
The pig's like, ah!
He's there. He's got war paint on, and there's like maybe 10 or 12 catapults all around, and there's other apes manning the catapults, and this one is the tallest one, the strongest one. So he's got, like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, how the orcs that were formed, the tougher ones that felt no pain, and then they all had that like brand on their face, the war paint. He's got war paint with his own palm across his face. Oh, fuck shit up.
The fact that he's been able to build a catapult is
very industrious.
Why did he rustle the bushes first? Why didn't he just go straight for that?
Like I told you, psychological warfare. Keep them on their toes. Don't give them good sleep.
What would you
Take
do in this situation? You look out at the gap in the logs and you see this gorilla with the war paint.
Oh.
I say gorilla.
I reach for the nearest bottle of whiskey I can find. I drink as much as I can without throwing up.
And then go to sleep.
Get myself so inebriated that Dutch courage kicks the fuck in, and I grab me some guns, jump out that door, war pig, and then go to war. I might die in like 5 seconds flat, but I wouldn't know about it.
You know that thing that was going around, one gorilla versus 100 men and whatnot?
Where we realised that all men would die. Yeah.
Well, I read a
Depending on the size of the
scientific report at some point in the last 6 months, and it wasn't in the last few weeks, so I can't remember it fully, but I made a note that apparently it should take 5 humans to beat a gorilla.
Bullshit. Possible, not probable.
Depends on the humans.
Yeah.
You put Chuck Norris in there,
Then
you're
it's Chuck Norris
chance.
versus 100 gorillas.
He gets torn apart.
I think the problem with quite a lot of men is their ego is a lot bigger than their fighting capability. What they think they're going to do to that gorilla is completely different once it's got his finger in your butthole and tearing you apart from your anus. And people think you're going to fight a gorilla like you would fight a man. Gorilla's going to scratch and bite the shit out of you. Like, you're not going to know what the hell has happened. All it takes is one swipe of your leg and you can't walk. Also, is it 100 men versus a gorilla at once, or is it one at a time combat?
It's at once, I believe, was the meme.
Okay, at once you probably could.
Bundles.
Yeah, pretty much. You're going to bundle and smother.
But those first few people are getting torn.
You've got to hope that the first few people are just large. and then you literally all just pile in at once.
But then you're only containing it, aren't you?
Not if you all just bundle on top until
Oh,
just
yeah.
suffocate it and
Poor gorilla.
100%. But I think that's the only way you're winning.
Just let the gorilla win.
Kick it in the nuts. That might help.
That's the real way to win.
Find a win.
One swift punt to the
We're
nuts.
fighting clean.
Well, if he's going to stick his finger in your bum, you're quite entitled to, I think.
Absolutely.
Beck had spotted what he could only describe through his screams as mountain devils. Several of them. More than he could count at first. A bunch of huge, hairy creatures were circling the log cabin, absolutely hossing rocks and stones at the walls. There was only one thing to do. The prospectors got their guns.
I'm gonna get my gun.
Yes, the Great Ape Human War of 1924 had just ensued. The disgusting, curdling screams and putrid stank of the apes was unbearable for the humans, and in the face of death, the men opened fire. At first through gaps in the logs before gradually making their way outside as they forced the apes back. But the apes fired back, raining down rocks upon the prospectors. This was the land of the apes, and they would not accept the challenge to their land. Suddenly, the apes backed off. As the men started to celebrate, boom! Rock! They were back. The fight ensued once more. Back and forth, bullets and missiles would fly as the apes continued to back off and return in waves. At one point, an ape managed to rip some of the ceiling off and rain rocks down on the miners. At another point, the prospectors backed off into the cabin, and one of the apes managed to tear through the door and grab an axe from the wall. The men opened fire on the ape, and Monkey Man retreated. As Beck gave chase, a rock cracked him on the beak, and Beck lost consciousness. The fighting had been going on for many hours, and as Beck lay on the floor, dazed but coming to an hour or two later, he realised that daybreak was coming. With the rising sun, the attacks suddenly ceased and the apes vanished back from where they came. As they did, Beck took his rifle and lined up his shot. Boom! The ape in the distance dropped down a ravine, to be precise, an inaccessible ravine.
How big was the rock that knocked him out?
By his account, absolutely huge. They did find a pebble in the area.
Was it Dwayne The Rock Johnson about 2 months ago, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson now?
2 months ago, by his account.
I take it that he must have known exactly where this ape was to know that it fell down a ravine and that it was inaccessible. Because it might have been inaccessible to humans, not to apes.
Not to more skilled climbers with greater strength.
Absolutely.
I did throw in an interesting fact in the research notes here, in that humans can run on average about 13 kilometers per hour. A gorilla can move at 32 kilometers per hour. You ain't outrunning that thing.
No, you're not.
Over short distance. But at what point does the gorilla get tired?
Or do you think, you're out of my territory now, I don't care?
Yeah. Or what if the gorilla can sprint long distance, like marathon style?
Usain Bolt and Mo Farah in one.
You're running away. The gorilla runs past you, is in front of you, back chatting you.
You can't keep up? Come on!
Did they manage to kill any of the apes?
So, potentially, he's hit one.
Potentially.
Well, we'll get to it, but he's shot one and it's hit the floor and dropped down a ravine.
So that's the only one. After all this gunfire and all these rocks being thrown,
Yes.
that's the only ape that has
Well, it was the apes throwing
possibly
the rocks.
died. But they were shooting
They were
guns.
shooting back, but remember they hit one 3 times earlier in the,
And it done nothing.
and it done nothing
so their
to it.
gunfire done nothing. Really.
So either these apes have got real thick skin, like some animals do, and they can take bullets in certain places.
How many of these guys died?
Also none.
So we've got stormtrooper aim from both sides.
Well, with
Or
regards...
armour versus
So,
stormtrooper aim.
The prospectors were generally in a log cabin, and they were poking their guns through like the holes and whatnot and shooting for the majority of this standoff.
Oh,
So
I thought they came out at some point.
They did come out at a couple of points, but in general, that was the majority of it. So it's hard to be accurate in that sort of circumstance. And then when they came out, the apes were backing off and then coming back, as you see in battles, I guess, and then raining down their rocks, and the prospectors were back inside the cabin. So it's almost like cover and fire situation where they aren't getting clean shots until right at the end. Although when they came out, that guy did get clocked on the beak and knocked out.
I assume they were stood outside, dick swinging, shooting guns.
Not exactly, no. This was a more standoffish war. No one wanted to die, both scared of the other side potentially. But when this guy was clocked and on the floor, did the guerrillas, were they playing with the people so they left him, or could they not get to him because of the cover and fire? That I don't know.
Could have been that. Might have thought he was dead, so just
maybe
him.
Clocked him on the face, and then that was that.
Yep.
The miners hossed it back to civilization as quick as they could, as you can imagine, and the story very quickly broke in the press. Newspapers such as the Oregonian broke the news about a war with gorilla men. The story was actually credible, and the miners were so traumatized that the media and general public were convinced. Beck, in particular, was an experienced outdoorsman, familiar with wildlife and generally unflappable, so when Beck flapped, people took notice. Further supporting the story, the cabin was visited by the US Forest Service, and evidence was discovered by Rangers J.H. Huffman and William Welch. The cabin had loads of stone or rock dents all over it where missiles must have been launched at it with quite some force. Large stones, reported as devil stones, absolutely littered the site as if it had rained rocks, which I guess it basically had. And when I say large, I'm talking boulders. And there were footprints, large footprints, human-like footprints, but huge and with only 4 toes, it appeared. Bullets were even presented, misshapen, having hit the creatures. That is a mountain of physical evidence of a war between humans and apes.
So, I initially assumed that this was all a ruse when they got back because they didn't find any gold and they didn't want to come back empty-handed.
Ooh,
so they used this as an excuse to cover up the fact they had no gold. Now that you're telling me people went and investigated and found it, I thought, well, maybe they threw the rocks and everything themselves from a higher up vantage point, therefore causing more damage as the rocks would almost angle down as in an arch rather than just be thrown straight at it.
Yep.
And then you mentioned the footprints.
4-toed.
Now, did this occur before or after the first sighting of Bigfoot?
The first sighting, 1924. There's been reports of a Sasquatch-like creature dating back hundreds of years in
so they could have had a
indigenous
mold
legends and whatnot
to create
the gorilla itself
imprint.
Was a cryptid until discovered in like the 1800s, was it?
That's true.
Or was it even the early 19 or late? I think it was 18.
So,
regardless, the same with orangutan. They were orange men of the forest until they were proven.
it's quite possible that there are actually apes in the area and they just wandered around to have a look at the area. And then they scarp it. They might have shot at them and they bolted, but then came back later. So they might have had an interaction with
something.
Apes, but not to the extent that they have said.
So they've possibly exaggerated a little bit to make themselves look tougher.
Yeah,
When actually they bolted at the first sight.
absolutely.
Beck gave the most detailed account to the media, but all of the miners were spoken to separately and most gave entirely consistent accounts. All confirmed that they'd been awoken by impacts against the cabin and detailed the war, showing the rifles which were confirmed to have been fired a lot, and they all corroborated Beck being KO'd by one of these things. There is no shame in getting KO'd by Donkey Kong, by the way, though I wouldn't want to be unconscious with Diddy around. Beck and Smith would return to the site of the events too, determined to find the creatures when better prepared and prove their existence. However, there is one little detail that doesn't add up in this case. In 1967, Beck released a booklet detailing this event, and it turns out that Beck's account has evolved over time, slightly differing to the other miners. Beck would claim that the apes were interdimensional beings. The other miners called BS on this take and stuck to their original account.
Your internet search history must be so effed.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough just researching the episode topics themselves.
But the pictures you put in.
Just for you.
Beck has decided to up the ante. Interdimensional ape men.
He's got a bit carried away for whatever reason, by the sounds of it. Why would you do that?
Did they make any money from their story? Or was this a way of then starting to make money of the story?
Was it an effort to make money, so Beck's added a bit of detail to sensationalise it? Mm-hmm. And it's Beck solo here that's obviously done this booklet. It's not a group thing. All the others have all been consistent in their tale. It's only Beck that's differing.
And then how much is he selling this booklet for?
I don't think I've covered that, but he's by no means becoming a millionaire off this case. And this is quite a while later. This happened in 1924, and we're talking about 67.
Again, it depends what you class as a millionaire, like in terms of inflation.
He's not living off this story. Whether he's trying to live off it is a different question.
Okay.
Further complicating analysis of this event, those US Forest Service rangers felt that the humanoid tracks could have been faked. A forest search was undertaken and no ape body could be found. If these things had been shot and killed, as the miners claimed, what happened to their bodies? The inaccessible ravine the body dropped down, according to Beck. The rangers dropped straight down there to explore with no bother at all and found nothing. The Forest Service decided that this was a hoax, with the miners having placed the stones and caused the damage themselves. Case closed for the Forest Service. Others, however, absolutely believed the story. They just didn't think it was giant apes. Indigenous people in the area reported that the miners had set up their camp around an ancient burial ground, which would result in supernatural forces taking vengeance against the men. I don't have any evidence to support that claim, though it is probably my favourite of all the theories. Researchers have suggested it was a prank by railroad workers nearby that got out of hand. An article in 1963 detailed that former YMCA campers had admitted chucking the stones at the cabin from a gorge above. Being a canyon, teens laughing could have been distorted to those below, sounding like apes. But what about the footprints? How do we explain those?
Okay, so I didn't think at any point it could be other humans, considering they were shooting guns.
Yeah.
Like,
But
why would you risk throwing rocks at people that are shooting guns back at you?
I hear you, but what if they weren't immediately in firing range. They weren't right up against them. What if, as the teenagers are saying, they were way up above and raining down rocks from height?
I suppose you're throwing off a cliff almost.
Every time one popped their head out, maybe they ducked back down and then started throwing, or maybe they weren't even barely peeping up. But the men wanted it to sound tough, so they made it sound like more of a war when actually they were all cowering inside the hut, the log cabin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it was just being rained on by teenagers. They didn't know what was going on.
Absolutely shitting bricks.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe they did know, and like you said in your astute take earlier on, that they hadn't found gold, so they were using it as like this event happened, but they've added some layers and used it as an excuse to get away because they didn't find gold.
Could be that, or the fact that they were so shit scared by what was happening they left.
Yep.
Literally just that.
And
to them, they might have thought they were fighting ape men.
100%. As we covered, all the men seemed actually traumatized by this, and all of their accounts were pretty much identical apart from Beck.
Mm-hmm. Who hired the teens.
But those footprints. Looking at those footprints, they were 14 to 16 inches long. The tracks didn't match any known animal, and other researchers have determined that it would actually be really difficult to mimic these tracks using just your hands and feet, as the US Forest Service believed. To get technical and full disclosure, I don't know much about feet, but Mr. Moonwalker really does, so this will make sense to him. The dermal ridges and mid-tarsal breaks on the footprints appear genuine. Without the actual foot, though, we will never know for sure. Engineering analysis has suggested that it would be tough to fake the dents in the cabin, even using ropes and pulleys. Things were thrown at the cabin with more force than a human could generate. But we only have second-hand accounts of the damage to the cabin today, being that it was wooden. One more factor worth mentioning is that the men fled with daybreak. They left their valuable mining equipment behind. This would be crazy if they weren't fleeing from something life-threatening. The miners didn't gain financially from this event. Things moved on and people forgot about this war until 2013, when the site of the war was tracked down by a chap named Mark Myersel, who's put together a lot of the details we have today and found bullet casings. Being wood, the cabin no longer stands as I alluded to, but mining equipment and some evidence of footings remains at the site. So before you come in there, just because I don't want to lose my trail of thought, and I will, the dents had been caused with more force than a human could generate, but what if they had been thrown from a high height?
Exactly.
Therefore, taking gravity exactly that.
Help
yeah.
that. That's what I was going to say. Also, in terms of the footprints, if I was to put on, let's say, a mold of a prosthetic foot, and then go walk around in it, it's still going to have some of those natural indents of a foot.
Wow.
Because of the way my foot moves within. Simply because you're not going to, unless it's completely flat and solid like a plank of wood, it's still going to have movement of a foot.
I hear you, and I'm not a foot expert, but apparently you, for feet experts, like yourself, you can tell.
Yes.
Apparently. Don't know what it is about the molds or whatever. Maybe it's the way the ankle ligaments and whatnot move the foot itself, but you can supposedly tell. The size of these feet in this case, they would have been above 20, size 20 in American shoe size, which is above 50 for Europeans.
I mean, looking at this mold, it's giant.
Yeah, we're talking real big feet. Like with a foot that size.
Also, there was mining equipment still at the site. If this was expensive mining equipment, why did no one take it back with them?
Yeah.
Not those that left. I mean, people came and investigated the area. Why wasn't the equipment taken?
Good question. It was still there, so we know it happened, but we don't really know why, unless the equipment had just got a bit crappy being left out in the weather.
True.
Or maybe it was a bit older in general and with no gold found in the area. It wasn't worth the hassle to move
Collect
it somewhere else in the area. Yeah, like I say, I'm just clutching. Good question.
Like Beck.
Mm-hmm. So what could these things be if not humans? The Gigantopithecus is an extinct 10-foot ape. The Pacific Northwest had the exact type of obscured natural environments that could hide such a species. Is there a large ape species living undisturbed in the American outback? We've covered that theory in some manner a couple of times, and both myself and Mr. Moonwalker have agreed it's quite likely that there are species we haven't yet discovered. Suffice to say, this case is believed to have sparked the modern Bigfoot craze. That's right, this is the origin story of the Sassy Saga. This case indirectly led to a man named Tim Peeler punching Bigfoot. Go on, get! Tracks and sightings continue today. Are the Bigfoot seeking revenge? That is the probe. So I've shown you some scientific mock-ups of an orangutan, humans, an eastern lowland gorilla, Chewbacca, and then the Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus.
The picture underneath that is that's a mock-up of an orangutan. Isn't
No, that is the giant, the 3.5 meter real life ape that used to exist.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, we have their fossils. We know it existed, and it looks just like what you would think Bigfoot looks like, doesn't it?
That is quite true.
I'll try and remember to post this to our Instagram at But It Was Aliens.
And they weighed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Do you know what I like? In the I guess it's probably for a museum, they've created a model of this creature.
Mm.
And rather than having to give it genitals, they've just put a bit of extra fluff where the penis would be. So we're not going to even try and address that. We're just going to put a bit of extra fluff there to cover up whatever's there.
Fluffy boy.
But yeah, giant. And who knows what's still out there in the world, hey?
Absolutely. Can you imagine having a fight with one of those?
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm not going to... Wish I hadn't have said that. Really wish I hadn't have said that.
You heard it here first, folks. The grey one would rather lay down with the ape.
I've got a lot of love to give.
Than throw down with the ape.
Both could result in my passing. In summary, we've covered the tale of Ape Canyon, a canyon full of apes in Washington state. A group of prospectors hunting that gold made their base by a canyon and in July 1924 shot their rifles at an ape they saw by their cabin. That was a mistake because at midnight that night, the ape returned with his friends and the Ape Vs Human War of 1924 ensued. For about 8 hours, the apes rained down stones and boulders on the miners, and the miners returned fire with their rifles, allegedly killing one of the apes. When the sun came up, the apes scrambled. The news quickly broke upon the miners returning to civilization, and people wondered whether it was basically Bigfoot, a misidentified attack from youths or nearby railway workers. Whilst there are no gorillas in America these days, we did identify a prehistoric species of gorilla 10 foot tall, and we theorised as to whether a hidden group of apes were living in Ape Canyon. There was evidence to these events, including damage to the log cabin, bullet casings, rocks everywhere, and huge non-human footprints, which some believe to have been hoaxed, but others believe these would have been too difficult to create at the time with the tools available. The miners were all consistent in their story of flesh and blood apes, except the most experienced outdoorsman, Fred Beck, who later claimed that the creatures were interdimensional beings. Before we conclude, I should mention that there is a cave in this area called Ape Cave, and it's also said that the ape-named features are named after a Boy Scout group called the Mount St Helens Apes, who did a lot of exploration and discovery in the area. I should also mention that people have also connected this account to First Nation American stories of hypnotic Bigfoots, but I struggled to find reliable sources for that tangent further than there being loads of ancient accounts of these beasts across settlements. Are you ready to conclude, Mr. Moonwalker?
I am.
Hypno Biggie. Are you saying that it was Bigfoot? Big feet? Bigfoots? Sassy. Are you saying that it was Sassy's? Scotchy.
I'm not saying that it was Sassy's. I am saying that I believe these men saw something. What? No, let me rephrase that. I believe that these men believe that they saw ape-like creatures.
Yeah.
I think everything that they experienced is true to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it is the experience that they experienced.
Yeah.
Simply because, like we said, with the teenagers hurling rocks from the top, depending on how they laugh, their cackle may sound distorted in the canyon, and the rocks could be, well, with gravity, they're going to hit heavier than they would if they were just thrown from a shorter distance. The only thing I'm really unsure about is the first initial sighting and the 3 shots and it just walking off. Was that only Beck that was there when that happened? Or were they all there?
A couple of them, I think.
So that's the only bit that throws me off a little. But if that Gigantopithecus was around...
It wasn't actually Beck that shot it, was it? It was the other one, Smith, I think, that shot it. Beck was there, one of the two that saw it.
So if the Gigantopithecus was about at the time, that could have been almost like a baby one, really. If they reached 10 foot and it sits at 7.
The baby. Oh dear.
It could have just wandered off. Who's to say it didn't wander off hurt?
Possibly, yeah. Maybe it wasn't walking off casual. Maybe they usually move quick and this thing was murked.
Yeah. I think the interdimensional part is just bullshit.
Yeah.
And like the others actually
far.
Called out. So yeah, I think they literally scarpered because they found themselves in a situation they thought was much worse than it actually was, shit themselves and left. Is it sassy? No. But do I believe them? Yes.
We're not going to be a million miles away in our conclusion, I don't think. This one is one I first heard about absolutely years ago, and it was one of the first cases on our probe list, but I completely forgot it existed until a couple of months ago when I wrote this one. It's funny how nobody really accused the whole group of making this one up at the time, because that feels the easiest solution, doesn't it? I guess they must have been really convincing in their stories to the media to avoid those accusations, and I don't think it was a prank. I don't see people being shot at and continuing to come back, so I don't think the railway men's story is quite there. But I can't fully get away from the hoax idea. I think that, as you said, I think there's something in where you said they were trying to cover up their failure and finding more gold. Though, to note, one of the researchers, Mark Marcel, did suggest the mine was successful. I couldn't find any evidence of that. But I think they've probably exaggerated the story, I guess is where I'm coming down. So it's a half hoax, but half not. So something happened.
It was
I lean more towards the teenagers than anything. But then what did they shoot at? Or they were all consistent in that part, but only 2 of them saw it, I guess, the first shot, and then obviously they all witnessed the later war. So yeah, I don't think it was Sasquatch, I don't think it was Bigfoot, but I do think that the miners did experience something, and then they used that to partially cover up their failures.
I would have gone
mining there.
I would have gone with a full cover-up of their failures if they weren't traumatized by it. But with a lot of them being kind of traumatized by it, then I think something happened, or they saw.
Maybe the chaps all got a bit over-friendly together and never wanted to talk about it again. They were having a few drinks, lonely times happened.
So they're lovers, not fighters.
Yes, and the less said about that, the better. And they thought if they just come up with a story, then they wouldn't have to go and do any of this, talk about it again. But what they actually inadvertently done was made the whole world want to hear about it. So yeah, not Biggie, not Bigfoot.
Did they leave any other belongings?
I don't know.
Because if they took all their personal belongings but left
the mining
gear, that's a bit suspicious.
And I think that may well be the case, because the apes left at sunrise, didn't they? And then the chaps had time to pack up and leave. So yeah, they didn't run from the war had ended.
Okay.
So yeah, not quite enough information. I think people really want to believe this one, and so there's maybe there isn't a chance to scientifically analyse it today, but it would have been nice had the gear been looked at and reported upon more to see what circumstances were there to help us out with a conclusion. But yeah, like I say, with the information at hand, not Bigfoot for me.
No.
Any final thoughts?
It's also possible if you have one person shouting that they see something and start shooting that way,
Especially at night.
At night, everyone else, shit, I saw it too, and then start shooting at the same thing. Mm-hmm. So they might have been shooting at nothing.
Yeah, or just local fauna.
Wildlife, yeah.
That is a wrap for today. Thank you for listening to
Sassy Rap.
The Sassy Rap. Thank you for listening to But It Was Aliens. If you're interested in supporting this show, you can head on over to the darkest canyon of the internet over at patreon.com/But It Was Aliens. There, each month we release bonus episodes we call Side Pros into the wilder paranormal events. Become a patron of the show and you gain access to these episodes for quite literally less than a cup of coffee. You can hear us analyse the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. If you have ideas for future episodes, you can share episode suggestions with us on the Twitter at But It Was Aliens. You could also say hello on Facebook, where connected to But It Was Aliens is a secretly public private group called Extraterrestrial Towers. Being a member of Extraterrestrial Towers grants you protection from the aliens when they invade. We've recently installed a canyon at the base of the towers, and we can't extend that same protection to Bigfoot invasions, granted, but we can confirm that we aren't trying to entice the Bigfoot with your gooey bits so that we can film them and make money. That is it for this episode, so until next time. We know about wishing on a monkey paw, but can monkeys use their own paws? The truth is up there. #.
Do you reckon in the monkey world there's a saying that you wish upon a human hand?
I really hope so.